Hey friends, welcome back for another What's for Dinner video. So this week I only have 2 dinners and a side dish to share, but you know, some weeks are just like that where you get a little busy or you're just not cooking as much, and this was one of those weeks. But I am super excited because the last recipe I'm sharing with you guys is my roasted okra. I think I raved about it on my last grocery haul video, so I'm super excited to share it because it's one of my new favorites. Starting off the meals for this week, I did make some, it was supposed to be pork cutlet piccata, but I ended up combining a piccata recipe and a lemon recipe that I made not too long ago. I think it was like maybe 2 or 3 months. They were both so delicious. I just kind of smashed them together and it worked out beautifully. I have these really thin cut pork chops that I picked up at Market Street. I didn't know what I was going to use them for. I was actually kind of leaning towards schnitzel because we haven't had that in a long time. But then I started thinking about piccata and I'm like, well, so I just went ahead and thawed them and I seasoned them with a Kinder's Italian blend. But if you don't have that, no worries. Salt, pepper, garlic powder is all you need. I then put them in just a little bit of flour, make sure they were fully coated. There's nothing in the flour, just plain flour. We're not deep frying these. We're not battering them. Typically the flour is just used to help get a little more golden brown on the meat when you cook it, and then it helps you thicken your sauce later, but as you will see in a little bit, I ended up still having to add some flour. Not very much came off of the pork chops. These cooked for about 3 or so minutes per side because as you can see they're really thin, but they did develop beautiful color, and color is flavor. So I just cooked them on both sides and took them out of the pan. I did let it cool a little bit because it had gotten pretty hot. And once I felt it had cooled down enough, I went ahead and tossed in 2 cloves of garlic that I had just chopped up. Nothing too fancy there. I didn't even chop them in tiny pieces. I left them kind of large. And then I went ahead and threw in about a tablespoon of flour to the oil that was left in the pan. And I'm going to whisk that around and make sure it's mixed in really, really well with that oil. And we're going to let it simmer for probably about 3 minutes. Flour has a taste, and if you don't let things like this simmer, you will taste the flour in your finished dish. So I went ahead and tried to let that flavor cook out. And as you will see, it starts to get a little bit more color, not too much. You don't want to go super dark with this. You're just really looking to cook out that flavor. Next, I added in a half a cup of white wine. If you don't have that, you could use extra chicken broth, or even water really would be fine. And then I added in the juice and the zest from 1 large lemon, and then stirred that all together and made sure it was incorporating really, really well with the flour mixture that we had in the pan. You do want to make sure that that mixes in well because you don't want clumps later on. So do be careful when you mix things into your flour mix. Next, I added in about a cup of chicken broth, which as you can see, my better than bouillon had not really mixed in well with the water, but that's okay. I always have trouble with that stuff, but once I get it in a hot skillet, it just cooks in just fine and the flavor is so good. The last thing I did was to add in a couple of tablespoons of capers. You don't have to do this and you don't have to add that much. It's really up to you, but they are definitely one of my favorites. So I added in a lot of them. Then I nestled my pork chops right back into the skillet so that they could simmer in that sauce as it thickened, and let them cook for probably like 5 to 7 minutes, and dinner was done. Served it over rice with some air fried cauliflower on the side. It was so good. There's so much flavor in this dish. Next I'm going to make was supposed to be lasagna, and I decided I would make lasagna roll-ups, and then I decided I was going to try to stand them up like you do with that, I think it's like a rigatoni casserole where the tube noodles stand straight up. So overall the dish was okay. I like lasagna roll-ups a lot, but I think I would lay them flat like I normally do next time. So I browned a pound of sausage, just like regular breakfast sausage, and a pound of ground beef. We don't like Italian sausage in my house, so you can use Italian sausage if you want. And you actually only need 1 pound of meat in total, but I am making the lasagna roll-ups plus regular spaghetti for my kids, so I'm cooking 2 meals simultaneously. And then I added in a very large jar of Classico spaghetti sauce. I don't really care for it. It used to taste really good, but it kind of tastes, I don't know, it's not very good anymore. So it was a great time to use that up and get it out of my pantry. So it's one of those really big ones from Sam's Club. As that simmered on the stovetop, I had a little container of ricotta cheese and I put it in my bowl. Then I seasoned it with some salt, pepper, and garlic powder. It's called the Blend by Kinder's. And then I added in about a teaspoon and a half of Italian seasoning. I just have a small container of ricotta because I'm not making a ton of this. It's only for my husband and myself. I did put in 1 egg. Then I put in about a 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. And then I'm adding about a cup to a cup and a half of mozzarella. I know it sounds like a lot, But usually when you make lasagna, you would put your ricotta cheese on the layer and then you would sprinkle mozzarella on top. Yeah, I'm not doing that. I've just mixed all of the cheese together, so I will just kind of smear it on all at once. You don't have to do that. You could sprinkle cheese on separately if you want to. For me, this just seemed like an easier way to do it. And really, I mean, it works out great because it all kind of melts together a little bit better. But again, I mean, you don't have to. You could do them all in separate layers. This is just how I chose to do it. I did incorporate it really, really well. It takes a minute to get that cheese, you know, kind of evenly mixed throughout. And I did have some lasagna noodles cooking on my stove, so I only cooked them for about 4 to 5 minutes, just enough that they were pliable and I could work with them. And then I sprayed a piece of parchment paper with nonstick spray, and I put my noodles out very carefully so that they're not on top of each other because they will stick together. There's so much starch in pasta. It's like glue. And I did have too much for one layer, so there I am. I have that olive oil spray and I sprayed it on top, and I put down another piece of parchment. I sprayed it with the olive oil spray, and then I put another layer of noodles on top, and that was that. This is just an easy way, it makes it easier for me. They're hot, it gives them a minute to cool off, they're not sticking together, they're not sticking to anything else, they're laying flat. You don't have to do it this way, just like I said, it's just easier for me. So then I set up a little workstation so we can get to work rolling these guys up. I did put some of the sauce in the bottom of my casserole dish, and then I just take a noodle and I put some of that cheese mixture on there first. I do it like 3/4 of the way up the noodle. I don't cover the whole thing because as we roll these, it's going to kind of mush everything closer towards the end and it spreads it out on its own. So you want to leave a little empty space. Otherwise, you're just going to have a huge mess on whatever surface you're working on. I decided to put a little fresh spinach in mine because I had some and I wanted to. In the past, I've done things like thinly sliced squash, all kinds of different veggies, but you don't have to if you don't want to. I just like to add veggies if I can. So as you can see, I piled on a bunch of spinach, and then I'm going to put a little bit of that meat sauce that we made in there, not too much because this is getting pretty full, and then we're going to roll. And like I said, we're going to stand these up, which I don't recommend. I mean, it was okay, but the top part of the noodles get a little overcooked and everything kind of sinks down in them. I always wanted to try that standing rigatoni casserole. I've done this. I don't think I would do that because now I know what's going to happen. Everything you put on top just sinks down with gravity and the top is kind of funny. I don't like the texture. So there's what it looks like when you've rolled up all of your little lasagna roll-ups. And then I'm going to top it very generously with some of that meat sauce. And this is to kind of help keep everything from drying out on the top because I was really nervous that the noodles would get way too crispy and kind of that funny gummy texture. I don't like that. I don't like my noodles to get crispy or anything like that. So I was very worried about it. I was so worried I decided to cook it in a water bath, which I am glad I did. It helped a little, but they still were overcooked for me on the top. I then put a little bit of mozzarella and Parmesan on top. Again, my attempt to keep it from drying out. And then I was really worried about the foil that I covered this with sticking. So in a second, I'm going to make like 2 tent poles and then put like a camping tent over the top. It keeps all the steam in and it keeps the foil from touching the cheese topping so nothing sticks to anything, but it covers it to give it a more gentle baking experience. Overall, the flavor was really good. I like this, but traditionally I just lay these on their sides and I like that so much better. That's what I would do next time. And I will try to make this again here in the next, I don't know, couple of months to show you guys what it looks like when they're laid down because I actually think they're very beautiful when you lay them on their side. I did not think they were very beautiful when you stand them up, but it was a fun experiment nonetheless, and it was still tasty and delicious. I loved it. Yeah, no, I can't go wrong with pasta. I've never met a pasta I didn't like. I love lasagna. I love all of it. So it was still very, very, very good. I did bake this at 350 degrees for about 20 to 30 minutes. I checked it once and I felt like it could go just a little bit longer, but do keep in mind everything in there is fully cooked. I was just making sure that all of the cheese had melted and the egg that I put in the ricotta was cooked and things like that. But everything else is fully cooked. The meat's cooked, the sauce is cooked, all of it. I did serve this with a little salad on the side. I was trying something new. It's just a kale salad, but I tried making my own dressing this time, something a little different. So I'll be sharing that soon in a couple of weeks. It worked out beautifully and I cannot wait to share that recipe with y'all because I thought it was fantastic. All right, this is the winner for me because I'm like so addicted to this stuff. And of course, okra's going out of season. I'm so disappointed about that I'm going to show you my air fried or roasted. Tonight we're going to roast it, but sometimes I air fry it as well. Okra. It's better than fried okra. So I cut the little stems off the end and then just slice them in half long ways. You don't have to cut the stems off. A lot of people eat them. I'm just not those people. I prefer no stems. Then I put them in a bowl and mix them with a little bit of oil. I just use olive oil, but you can use whatever oil you choose. It's totally up to you. And then I lay them on a lined baking sheet. I put parchment paper down, and then I just make sure that they are all cut side down. That's really important because that's what gives you that beautiful caramelization on the underside. Having them touch that metal part of the pan, it just does beautiful things. Once they are all laid cut side down, I go ahead and season them with garlic salt. If you don't have garlic salt, just garlic powder and salt is fine as well. But that's the key to this. It's really simple. We're not going to go overboard. There's nothing fancy here. Pop them in a 400-degree oven for 15 to 20 minutes, and they are divine. One of my absolute favorite things to eat right now. I hope you guys are as psyched to try these as I was, because I think they are amazing. I could eat these like potato chips. They are so stinking good. There's great texture to them, so much flavor, just amazing. All right, friends, I pulled this out of the oven. Look at that beautiful color. It caramelizes and gets so delicious, a little bit crispy, and it's just wonderful. If you guys like fried okra, seriously, give this a shot. I think it's better, and it's certainly better for you because we're not deep frying anything. It is just absolutely amazing. So let me just give you a sneak peek at the gourmet meal for tonight, because this is the last meal of the week. I showed you guys the chicken. I'm about to pull it out. It's almost done. Boxed mac and cheese, yum, and some instant mashed potatoes. I actually dressed these up with a little bit of heavy whipping cream and real butter, and I add some salt. And in a minute, once Jensen gets his, I will put in some fresh cracked pepper. Jensen does not like pepper on things, but yeah, totally gourmet tonight, right? Anyway, this is the last meal of the week. I will show you guys a finished picture of a plate here in a minute so you can see it all together. But thank you guys so much for watching and being here. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed sharing my meals with you this week. Thank you for supporting me and my channel, liking and subscribing. You guys are amazing, and I will see you soon with another video. Bye. There it is. It's dinner. It's certainly not the healthiest meal I have ever cooked or even cooked this week, but sure is tasty. That okra is so good. So, so good. I hope you guys can give it a try. And that chicken, air fryer wins every time, man. Air fryer chicken is awesome. And I'm not a big fan of fried chicken, but I'll eat some air fryer chicken. And of course, the mashed potatoes and mac and cheese. My kids asked for mashed potatoes and mac and cheese, so we're having mashed potatoes and mac and cheese. There it is, y'all. The end of the week. There's dinner.